Come on in, welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about Survivor's greatest and most iconic showmances. Showmances, that is, romances on the show, are rarer on Survivor than on most other reality TV series, mostly because everyone is dirty, smelly, and starving, and many people are not particularly attracted to that state of being. Many Survivor players have reported a complete loss of libido in just a few measly days in the elements. Why they reported that, I have no idea. But they did. Survivor's romantic entanglements run the gamut from boring to gross to heartwarming, and everything in between. Next week, we'll be looking at the worst showmances ever on Survivor, but for now, love conquers all. All that said, let's dig into Survivor's greatest and most iconic showmances ever. At number 5 is the couples alliance in Survivor Micronesia, Amanda and Ozzy and Parvati and James. If you were going to put a photo in the dictionary for the word showmance, it would be these four. No other showmance has ever so successfully straddled the line between genuine attraction and performative screen grabbing than these four in the early days of Micronesia. Initially bonded together by their, mutual hotness, Parvati, Amanda, James, and Ozzy very nearly made the same mistake that Reynold, Eddie, Allie, and Hope did 10 seasons later, being so blinded by abs and bikinis that they forgot that 4 is not a majority of 10. This could have been very disastrous for them, as they were vying for control of the tribe against the Eliza, Amy, Penner, and Yao Man alliance. But they were fine, and Cerise sided with them, so we get a lot of cuddling and making out, with the rest of the tribe awkwardly hanging around as the fifth wheel. While Parvati and James were just having fun, cuddling, and flirting, Amanda and Ozzy were definitely taking things to the next level, let's say.
I think we'll be receiving birth announcements from Ando and her little oslets that she's about to have.
Unfortunately for James and Ozzy, this would not be the defining alliance of this season, which keeps it from climbing the ranks here. At the swap, Parvati scooped up Natalie and Alexis as allies and formed the Black Widow Brigade, a group of women that relished destroying any man that stood in their way. And at the merge, they hooked back up with Cirie and Amanda to eliminate each remaining man in increasingly humiliating fashion. Parvati and James were never a serious item, so once the male merge slaughter begins, they're all but separated. But Amanda and Ozzy's relationship continued through the swap and into the merge, and was so sincere, at least on Amanda's end, that the rest of the Black Widows left her out of the Ozzy blindside plan. Ozzy even lambasts Parvati in his jury speech, telling her that it's unfair that she voted him out because she robbed him of 2 extra weeks with Amanda, the apparent love of his life, which, it's pretty rich coming from you, buddy.
You smell good. Yeah, right.
You'll be shocked to learn that those little oslets never came. At number 4 are Jamie and Eric in Survivor China, one of the few Survivor couples that actually resulted in an adorable marriage. Oh my god, just look at them. Disgusting. Jamie and Eric are easily the least famous Survivor players on this list, but they really do earn their spot by being one of those rare Survivor relationships that actually amounted to anything. And I'm guessing it was love at first sight.
I don't have on a bra.
Jamie and Eric started China together on the Zhanhu tribe and quickly became part of the majority alliance with PG, Frosty, and Sharia. But an even more exclusive alliance was percolating. One of the few non-Dave related storylines on Zhanhu is Jamie and Eric's budding attraction, which we now know feels so genuine because it was. They kinda awkwardly flirt in the water, and Jamie talks about how cute she thinks Eric is in confessional. There's almost this youthful innocence to it all that makes it all the more adorable. I think what I like about their story so much is that neither is what you think of when you think of a showmance. Jamie's kind of bubbly and goofy, and Eric's really soft-spoken, gentle, and introverted. Neither one really fits the template of a stereotypical showmancer. Unfortunately on the show, their showmance was cut short. Jamie ends up as the first member of the jury, and Eric goes out shortly thereafter, but their Survivor storyline doesn't end there. Survivor will give even the most irrelevant literal who's a segment at the reunion if you fell in love with another player, and so Jamie and Eric get an entire part of the reunion to talk about how they fell in love in the game and continued dating once they got home. Not to imply that Jamie and Eric are Carolina tier literal who's or anything. Now it's at this point that I have to mention that Eric talked about being a virgin on the show, intentionally so and proud of it. And you have to know what question Jeff is going to ask next.
Eric, dating Jamie, are you still a virgin? Of course.
Jeff, you know their parents are like right there, right? Like in the audience. Feet away. Probst aside, Jamie and Eric are Survivor's most adorable couple ever, living proof that you can actually find love in this game. Billy, take notes. At number 3 are Colleen and Greg in Survivor Borneo, who were totally in a showmance, I think. Or maybe they were just playing up to the cameras and making fun of the show by pretending to flirt, or all of the above. Colleen and Greg started the game together on Pagong and spent a lot of time in the jungle doing God knows what. Sometimes literally just rolling around in the mud. Both Colleen and Greg found the idea of Survivor kind of dumb. They loved to push at the artificial barriers of the TV show Survivor, whereas most everyone else was doing what production wanted, treating the game with a serious reverence. Colleen and Greg were making a mockery of Survivor at every turn, beginning with leading Pagong in a vote against Jeff Probst at the first tribal council, and ending with Greg fake crying and leaving a bizarre final message when he got voted out. So this all begs the question, was their showmance even real? Were they just friends who enjoyed making fun of Survivor together, or did they really have feelings for one another? Was it real, or were they just teasing the audience and poking fun at Survivor's obvious desire for someone, anyone, to hook up? Who knows? I'm not even sure that Greg and Colleen know where the joking ended and the romance began, and they're hardly reliable narrators on the subject. Even at the reunion, they're still making fun of the whole situation and seem committed to throwing out red herring after red herring to the bitter end.
It was all a joke, really. I mean, when people ask you questions, you know what they want, so give them the answer. It's more interesting.
What about the second part of the lady's question? What about since the island?
No.
Are you going to tell the truth this time?
Survivor's first showmance question mark is also one of its most unique and fun to watch, even if none of it was ever real. Question mark.
See, now we did have sex.
At number 2 are Jerry and Colby in Survivor Australia, which went from a showmance to a nope-mance as the season progressed. Australia as a season is widely regarded as having one of the best pre-merges ever, followed by one of the most boring, longest, and did I mention boring, post-merges in history. On Kucha, what makes this pre-merge so great is Mike's Ahab-like obsession with hunting down the pig, and on Ogakor, it's Jerry's obsession with hunting down Colby. Same energy. Colby initially enjoys the flirting. He's good looking, Jerry's good looking, so what's the harm? For a few days, it's smooth sailing. But soon, Colby's patience for Jerry's fantasies wear thin. Jerry and Amber spend a lot of time talking about chocolate. Chocolate cookies, chocolate candy, dripping chocolate all over Colby's abs. Chocolate, of course, is a thinly veiled metaphor for, well, you know. Hubba hubba. By the end of the pre-merge, Colby's gone from being in a showmancy alliance with Jerry to being so annoyed by her, he's jumped ship to be with Tina and Keith. Oh, Survivor, don't let that stop you from trying to make this a thing. At the final 8, the survivors are randomly paired in teams to win a trip to the Great Barrier Reef, and wouldn't you know it, Colby and Jerry are paired together. And because Colby won like 110% of the challenges this season, they win. I can't confirm this or anything, but I have a pretty strong hunch that the heretofore unmentioned bottles of champagne waiting for them probably wouldn't be here if Keith and Amber won this reward. While their relationship this season ended on a bit of a sour note, Colby delivers a snide voting confessional when Jerry's booted, and Jerry votes for Tina to win instead of him. When Colby's voted out at the final 5 in Heroes vs. Villains, Jerry's genuinely devastated, as she and Colby had patched things up and buried the hatchet. The kind of 3-season story arc that, frankly, you're just not gonna get on other reality shows. It would be Survivor's greatest showmance ever, if not for a literal
marriage.
Survivor's greatest showmance and romance ever is Amber and Rob in Survivor All-Stars, obviously. There was never any doubt who would be number 1. Rob and Amber are probably the most iconic romance in reality TV history. Perhaps even American history? No, that's too far. Rob and Amber came into All-Stars as easily the least expected man and woman on the cast, respectively. Rob's inclusion makes a little sense. He was a big character in Marquesas, but had a fairly early exit. But his inclusion over Jervis or Sean or Fairplay was a bit of a head-scratcher. Obviously, he was cast for his potential rather than his actual all-starsiness. Amber, however, set the template for WTF All-Star casting for decades to come. She was not much of a character at all in Australia. Casting Amber on All-Stars was like if they cast Nick Brown on All-Stars. Who? Exactly. I'm not saying this to bash them. Trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. Rob and Amber started on Shapera together, quickly aligned due to their mutual attraction, and then built a powerful majority alliance on the shoulders of that attraction. Initially, they're both worried that the other is playing them, which to an extent is true. They were playing each other. But then their feelings evolved.
Definitely at first I was stringing him along. The flirting was a huge strategy in the beginning, but then I got caught up in it and feelings, emerged.
Things suddenly got real when a tribe swap sends every single player to the opposite tribe except Amber, putting her in a great deal of danger. I think this is the moment when things really changed for them. If this were, say, Big Tom or Alicia who were swapped to the other tribe, I don't think Rob would be cutting deals with Lex to keep them safe. With Amber spared a pre-merge boot, thanks to Rob's deal and her own scrambling, when they reunite at the merge, they completely dominate the rest of the game, squashing the Saboga alliance and pitting their own allies against each other until they're the final 2, where Rob ensures that no matter who loses, he wins, sealing the deal with a proposal to her on live TV. Suck it, Lex. Despite being the least anticipated casting choices and slaying your faves left and right, America fell in love with Romber over the course of the season. It's one of those things where you kind of had to be there, but it really was inescapable. America had Romber fever, which is way better than the fever most Americans are getting nowadays. It's really heartwarming that not only are they still together, they have 4 daughters and even played together again on Winners at War. Not to mention the stints on The Amazing Race, millions of dollars in game show winnings, and a wedding paid for by CBS. Hard to argue that anyone else got more out of Survivor than these two. If you went back to May 2001 and told someone that Amber Burkitch was going to be Survivor royalty someday, there's just no way they'd believe you. Amber? The Nick Brown of Survivor Australia? Okay. Got nothing else for you. Next week, we'll be talking all about Survivor's worst showmances, so don't miss that. Until next time, don't get idled out.